Hello and welcome. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is John Higginson. I'm the managing director of Kingscoin. I just want to double check now that we're actually live and on air. I'm assuming that I am. And yeah, thank you very much for coming along tonight. Appreciate your time and taking the effort, obviously, to come and view this. The purpose of the webinar tonight is to show you a little bit around why we are investing in the western suburbs, what's making us do so, what we see happening in the area, and I'll give you a look at some reports that we've got and downloaded from the council and from various other sources, which I will share with you. I'm going to look at the zoning that's happening in the area, look at infrastructure changes that are happening in the area, and other developments that are going on as well, so you can see what other developers are doing and where the money is actually going in the western suburbs. So it should be of good value to you, and if you're from Adelaide, you may know some of it. If you're from out of Adelaide or interstate, then I think this will be of a lot of value, because I'll show you a bit of a drive around tour of Adelaide as well and what's going on, just to get you up to date and familiar. And even for those of you that know Adelaide quite well, just going through this and putting it all into context, I think is going to be of value to you. So I'll just get cracking on. I'm going to start off with a quick overview of the Adelaide itself. Let me have a look at this. So I'll just transfer this to a map that we've done of Adelaide, showing what's occurring. So in the centre of that red circle there, that's basically the eastern suburbs and the CBD of Adelaide, and a small portion of the western suburbs as well. So the west is where the sea is, and is to the west of Adelaide. The east is over to the right. I presume that's right on your screen as you're looking at it, which is the hills to the far east. And in that red circle in the centre, there's been an awful lot of capital growth in that over the last few years. Obviously the CBD, eastern suburbs especially, they're very strong suburbs. And the outer circle there has seen growth in capital growth over the last probably 2 to 3 years. That is significant. So just on the western side there, in those outer suburbs, you'll have suburbs like Torrensville, Theberton, Mile End, Hilton, Croydon, Prospect, and those areas have grown quite significantly in the last couple of years. And further to the west, then you've got in that yellow oblong shape is out along by the coast. So suburbs along there again have seen quite exceptional growth actually in Henley Beach, especially Grange, Henley Beach South, and coming in then towards the CBD again, your Fulham, etc. Those suburbs in along there, they've seen good growth, and there's a patch in the middle that seems to be it hasn't quite reached yet, and specifically that area that we've circled in the green circle there. So even your Seatons and your Westlakes, they've all experienced good growth in the last couple of years. And this this circle that we've outlined hasn't quite caught up, and it's for that reason. That's for one of those reasons that we've been highlighting this particular area. And the suburbs that we include in this area are places like Woodville Park, Kilkenny, Findon. As you come further south, Cowandilla, Richmond, and there's quite a number of suburbs there. Croydon West, there's quite a number of sort of pockets of suburbs, and some of those suburbs are actually quite small. So when you look at the statistics on those suburbs, they don't seem to be setting the world on fire or anything, but that's because the number of sales in those areas is actually quite low. So you really have to appreciate and look deeper than just what the stats tell you on realestate.com, for example. And I'm going to get into that more as I go through this webinar. So I'd like to start with just giving you a quick overview of what's happening along the North Terrace in Adelaide, and that is really what I think is driving a lot of this on the western suburbs. And I'm just going to drive you out along here and show you what's going on. So as you can see here on the left hand side, this is the new Royal Adelaide Hospital. So this is the very southern, there it is there, Royal Adelaide Hospital. It hasn't even opened yet. It's the very western side of the North Terrace, on the western tip of the CBD. So that apparently is the third most expensive building in the world, if the stats are correct. And then we've got the Samri building just coming up here now into the picture, and that's a medical research centre. So again, you've got the hospital, you've got the medical research centre. Again, just a building that's just been finished here is the Adelaide University Medical Centre. So this is where they're going to teach the future of health is in our hands. Adelaide University is going to teach the future kids how to be doctors, etc. I'll just throw it forward a bit. And further down, they've got they've built the new convention centre. Again, the amount of conventions that place is holding is unbelievable at the moment, and it's really sort of set alight the whole of this northern. It's called North Terrace, the western end of North Terrace. This is the convention centre now, and in behind the convention centre and all of this there's the river. So they're upgrading along the river as well, and also. There's a new plans for just further down here. There's the train station. That's the Intercontinental Hotel into your left. This is the train station coming up just here, the railway station, main railway station into Adelaide. Again, and the casino is just above that, and that's all been upgraded. New office buildings and apartments and stuff is supposed to be going in there as well. And then this is the Parliament House. So that's as you go down North Terrace in Adelaide. So that's what's happening in that area has really set alive those inner suburbs of the western side, because obviously those doctors and those medical practitioners are going to be wanting to be close to the hospital, and that's where they're going to be moving to. I'll just move this along. And you can see here the western suburbs. I hope that's clear on your screens. And what I wanted to show you is I can't use my cursor on this actually, which is a bit unfortunate. But there's two main arteries out of the western suburbs. One of them is Port Road. One of them is Henley Beach Road, which goes directly to Henley Beach. And then there's a couple of smaller arterial roads, which would be Torrens Road, Churchill Road heading more towards the north, and Richmond Road again for a bit further south. And I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you Henley Beach Road as well, just because it is one of the main arterial roads that's been just turn off my sound. One of the main arterial roads that has been zoned for what they're calling an urban corridor. Now, what an urban corridor in terms of zoning means is that the council wants those main arterial roads that I've just mentioned. The council wants them to be developed from a commercial and residential perspective. So they've increased the zoning along these roads up to 3 stories, 4 stories, 5 stories, up to as you get closer to the CBD. There's also proposals in the pipeline. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but they're looking at extending the tram line either down along Henley Beach Road or down along Richmond Road. I think the preference at the moment is for Henley Beach Road. This junction here is where Henley Beach Road meets with South Road, and South Road is, they're calling it, the councils have named South Road the South Road Super Highway because of the work being underdone on there. They're getting rid of the traffic lights. They're going over the railway lines, and I'll show you a bit more of that later on. That's the turns to turns in the super highway. Right now, I'm going to show you what's happening in the a suburb called Bowden. So this is, again, it's just on the outskirts of the city. So you've got the parklands just here on your left-hand side, and into the right-hand side just here now to this new suburb Bowden. So just right on the western suburbs. Right at the very edge of the CBD. This is an old Clipsal, I think it was, factory grounds, and they've rezoned it. And as you can see, they're going up to 10, 11 stories in apartments in here. They're also adding in some townhouse developments, typically 3-story. You can just see some here on the right-hand side. Townhouses, and in this area, these are selling quite well. So beside the easy access to North Adelaide, you've got easy access to a tram line, and obviously easy access into the city. And the developments in the area are selling actually very, very well. I think that I'd safely say that the apartments in here are selling better than they're selling in the CBD. And the capital growth in these particular suburbs, certainly from my perspective as an investor, I would say it's pretty much there's not much I could see that's going to drive the capital growth in Bowden any more. So from that perspective, for me, I'm sort of not looking at investing or developing in this particular area. While I think it is fantastic and it's got great amenity and it'll be a great place to live, especially once it's all complete and the area really settles down, it'll be very good. And this suburb, there's one suburb like this called, let's say, Bowden. There's another suburb on the other end, which I'll show you as well. And that is just here. And this is St. Clair. So just at the other end of Port Road, Torrens Road specifically, there is this other development. And again, this development is it's called St. Clair. It's being developed by one of the large development companies. I think there's, 2,500 lots in here. It's been going for a couple of years now already. So again, very nice, all very clean, tidy. They've made a brand new development, and the lots in here would typically be more low density to medium density. So nice big houses on, I suppose, to maybe 500 square meter blocks of land. And they've also put in a small shopping centre. So I think there's a Coles and a cafe or two and a couple of specialty shops, chemists, etc. In the development. And again, pretty easy access for transport, train lines, public transport, buses, etc. And again, access to the city via Port Road and Torrens Road. Now, the apartments and townhouses in this development for the surrounding area would be quite expensive, but it's lifting the whole of the surrounding areas, and that's what I see is happening with Bowden and with St. Clair, that it's lifting the two east and west of those corridors. So Port Road and Torrens Road, it's lifting either side of those. You can see there's a couple of medium density high rises here. And again, typically the townhouses in here are 2 to 3 stories, selling for, I suppose there's 2 bedrooms for around the 440, somewhere around there, 450. I see there's some new ones just been released, and they are selling for around 615,000 for a 3 bedroom, with water views. So that's where those have gone. And I suppose it's similar in Bowden. And again, just going back to the that map that I showed you earlier on. So where that green circle is, Bowden is just to the right of it, just in the CBD, on the edge of the CBD, and St Clair be just to the left extreme of it, and it's in that middle area that we've been concentrating on. And what I'd like to show you next is a report on from the council, and I'll just flick over to it now. Just give me a second. And this is quite unique in that what's happened is there's been the 4 councils in the Western region have come together, and they've decided on a master plan for the whole of Western Adelaide. And this is quite exciting as far as I'm concerned, in that what they've done is they've decided that there's going to be 2 main shopping hubs in the Western region. One is West Lakes, and the other one is the Arndale Shopping Centre. The West Lakes Shopping Centre, beside that there's the Amy Stadium, which is now being redeveloped, and there's again it'll be similar to these to the Bowdens and the Lights Views and the St Clairs of Adelaide. It'll be a master planned large community, and that's already underway. And the other area then is Arndale, which is again in that green circle that I've pinpointed, which has had a small upgrade recently, but is due for another and again in the western suburbs, the councils have had a look at the demographics of what's happening in the area. They've had a look at the what's called the my mind is gone. Sorry, the what do you call that? Where people work, employment, the employment growth. So, and of course, you can get a copy of this report as well. I'm happy to send it to you. So the employment in the area, they focused on new businesses and job creation through small business and new business, and they've been growing new business in the western region of Adelaide, and it's got the highest growth of small business in that area. In addition, Adelaide as a whole has had a negative point, I think it's 0.9% employment, whereas the western regions have had an increase of 3.9%. So that's where most of the jobs are being created, is in the western regions. Also, the defence projects are also going into the western region, and that is where they're building a number of submarines and defence ships, and that's going to, between what they're building and what they're spending in the area and what they're redeveloping, they're looking at something like $89 billion that's due to be spent in the western suburbs over the next number of years. And as I said earlier on, they're also proposing those extra train lines going out along the main corridors. So either Henley Beach Road, they're extending one along Port Road, and these are probably in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years sort of projects, the train lines, but they're in the pipeline. In addition, the Torrance to Torrance has been, some of it has already been done, and they're due to do, they're completing a lot of it at the moment, and they're due to complete the rest of it towards the end of this year. And I'll just give you a quick look at that. in a second. Well, I find it. And the Torrance to Torrance is so what they've done is they've increased the number of lanes, so it becomes a super highway out along the Torrance to Torrance road, and that makes it easier obviously to get in and out from the western suburbs, and it makes it it's hard to concentrate on two things at one time. I am a man. It's so as you go out the super highway now, it's the southern. You can see there's still works undergoing. This will be finished very, very soon. And what this is going to do is going to connect the Northern Expressway to the centre of Adelaide, making it very, very easy to live within the inner western suburbs, and if you want to, then work out where they're doing the defence construction, or to get out onto the northern corridor. So they're connecting it all together now via much faster roads, and normally when that happens, when that